Hey there, I'm Shanda Troll, founder and CEO of Transcendent Publishing, and I'm here today with Lisa Gulland-Nelson, best-selling author of You Have Permission to Live Your Heart's Desire. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to chat with you about your book. So we recently launched your book, and it went to #1 bestseller in 9 categories on Amazon. So
Yes.
Did really well. And I just want to read your book description for our listeners. So the title of the book, like I said, is You Have Permission to Live Your Heart's Desire. What if we've gotten it all wrong? What if sacrificing ourselves to take care of others only depletes our energy? What if taking care of ourselves would reflect a more balanced and healthier world? Deep within your heart, you have all you need to live your most treasured life. To be of service to the world, we first must learn to love and care for ourselves. When we live in joy, the world reflects that back to us. So go ahead, you have permission. I love that.
Thank you.
What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I could easily say you did, in a way, because you had, and it was several years ago, that 8-week book writing course. And this book wasn't something that was sort of in my mind. I had actually had this idea for a children's book or young adult, like literally ever since I was a young adult. So I grew up in a small town, and so I lived on the farm. So I rode the bus. And one day I was telling the story to my classmate on the bus, and I had that story stuck in my head since then. But when we started the course, this book just sort of poured out of me. So it sort of snuck up on me, and I would have never planned or thought to write it, but it just poured out. So
I love when that happens. That's how you know that you are on the right path. When you set out to do something and the universe is like, no, we have this other plan for you. But then you were willing to listen and become this open channel to this message and get that out in the world. And so certainly it must have come from somewhere in your own life where you learned to give yourself permission. So can you speak more on that?
Yeah. And, so it started out actually, probably on almost a more serious note, right? And I think that's what happens to all of us when we kind of have that spiritual awakening or whatever. And my parents actually both died. And so my mom had been battling cancer for several years. And then probably 5 years into it, all of a sudden my dad got sick, and they were on the farm. Like, he still carried big pails of feed to these baby calves that he would, have as almost like pets. And he was starting to get winded. And so, long story short, he was really sick. And it was a month later, like literally he went into the hospital just to get checked. Like, he's like, oh, no big deal. They're just going to keep me overnight. And it was a month later, and he passed away from lung cancer. And then it wasn't too long after that my mom started to get sick again, and her cancer had metastasized all the way up to her brain. And so, I kind of had switched roles all of a sudden with her, because I had been sick a lot when I was little, ear infections, strep throat, that kind of thing. So I feel like she'd taken me to the doctor a lot, and all of a sudden now I was taking her to the doctor. And so it was obviously quite a life-changing experience when you watch both your parents die in the matter of about 6 months. And so then, I had so many questions after that. I was scared all of a sudden. Now death was real. And I was very scared of it, and had a lot of questions about why are we here? What is this life about? There's got to be more to this. And so then that really became my entrance into spiritual college. And so from there I started, safe stuff, right? Angels. And so Sunny Dawn Johnston was someone I was drawn to. She seemed, I don't want to say normal, but at the time, that's what drew me to her. She looked like, somebody I could be friends with. And then I sort of, like I said, to just keep having each question I asked led to another question, and what is our purpose? And so that's kind of what really started, where this book really came from. I had no intention of writing it all down until I took your course, and I think that was a really good way to kind of just understand the process of writing a book, and getting down the right steps, and having the support throughout the whole thing. So my thanks to you, Shanda, for having such great programs to support aspiring authors. So
thank you, I appreciate that. And I love that, it really is a wake-up call sometimes, because life is so fragile and it is short. But you took that as an opportunity to say, life is fragile, life is short. What can I do, to live my own heart's desire? And in sharing that message, you're helping so many other people on a similar journey, and you're waking people up to the possibilities of they can have happiness, they can have joy, and they can truly live their purpose and live their heart's desire. So is that something that you do when you work with your clients? Is this something you mentor on?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's something that I'm moving into and giving myself permission. So really, in many ways, I wrote this book for myself. So I was probably my first client, I guess, the first person I was mentoring. And I wrote the book, and then I actually sat with it and edited it for a couple of years as I really, because I had written this stuff down, but I didn't feel like some of the things triggers and mirroring, I understood it conceptually, right? My brain understood it, but I didn't feel like I had a good grasp of it. And so I spent some time really just kind of working with other mentors until I really understood what I was writing. And then I felt like I could publish it. So yeah, now, now that the book's done and out there, I've started blogging again, and putting classes together and opening up to mentoring. So yeah, I'm excited about kind of the next chapter, pardon the pun, of this whole project, and just having fun with it. In my blog this last week, I actually tried something new, and I kind of talked about it. So finding ways that we can provide ourselves. I think I called it a diary of radical self-care, right? I mean, we're in a pandemic. We're in the cold winter months, especially, well, now everywhere is cold, I guess. But especially in North Dakota, sometimes these months or weeks just kind of drag on. So how can we really do what we need to say yes to ourselves, right? What are some things we can say no to? And that's what I talk about a lot in this book is, how do we give ourselves permission? What are some things we can add to our lives, and what do we need to take away now? What do we need to just say no to?
Yeah, and that's key right there, is learning that it's okay to say no, and what can we eliminate from our lives, and often that space for something new.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said that, at first you set out to write the book really for yourself. And what I find so much of working with aspiring authors through my programs and my book writing courses is that I watch so many authors be called to write about a subject because they're meant to walk through that journey. And that's likely why you took the time, and I'm glad that you did, and you didn't rush it out, but you took the time to walk through the journey, learn the lessons that were meant to go inside the book. So I'm always telling authors, if it takes you, you can set out to take, like, for example, you set out to take the 8-week book writing intensive, but that didn't mean you had to write your book in 8 weeks. If it takes you a few years to write your book, that's okay, because you're likely experiencing things that are meant to go inside the book, which is exactly what happened in your case, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And hopefully, the way I wrote the book, it's pretty short. I touch on the different topics, use examples in my own life, because I always feel like that always helps me learn anyway. You can tell me a concept, but I really kind of need an example, or, if possible, to do it myself. And then you can take some of those things, and I put resources in the back for additional learning, and you can dive deeper into a topic or two, whatever draws you. And then, of course, trusting the universe to bring you to the next thing that you're ready for.
Yeah, and I like the way that you have your book set up where it really could become a workshop or an online course where you could work through each chapter. Is that something that you're planning in the future?
Yeah, I actually have. I've started to plan a 4-week course, so I'm working through some of the details of it. But I'm hoping, I wanted to get it out in March, but we'll see. Maybe end of March. Maybe if I give myself a deadline. I'm very deadline driven, so I'd love to do that. I also had somebody who read the book, and they said they really love it as a tool. They actually will just open up the book to a random page and then read a line or two, and that really helps them. That might be something that they really need to read right now, and then they take that and kind of think about that, or incorporate that into their day. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it could actually turn into a journaling process for someone if they open to a random page and then they started journaling for the day on that, whatever called out to them. I mean, you always end up on the page you're meant to read, right?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Well, where could somebody go to get a copy of your book?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon, of course, and Barnes and Noble, and then you can go to my own site if you'd like, and I will send you a signed copy. So that's just Passion to Pen. So passiontopen.com is the easiest way. You can put my name in too, but that's sometimes hard to spell.
Passion to Pen, like PEN, the writing pen. Great. Yeah, that's easy to remember. All right.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to start today and make one small step toward living their purpose or giving themselves permission to live their heart's desire, what's one small step they could take starting today?
Yeah. I think even just having the intention of saying, hey, I want to, universe, all right, I'm in, and just putting it out there and then paying attention, because chances are you'll connect with something. But also just to start to pay attention to your body and pay attention to what your body needs, and doing something good for yourself. Maybe it's as simple as drinking more water, or, if you can go outside and spend some time, take a walk by yourself, or maybe there's something that you've like, you know what, I've really wanted a massage for a long time, and I say no to myself because I have all these excuses. Well, maybe you take this moment to just go on an app or make the phone call and schedule the massage, and just say no to anything that will stop that or to get in the way of that. So I guess just giving ourselves permission to do what we need right now.
Yeah, great advice. So now is the time.
Now is the time. Yes.
Before your ego talks you out of it.
Exactly. Yes. Listen to that quiet voice, and then don't let your ego change your mind.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I really enjoyed working with you throughout this project. I'm honored that you chose us at Transcendent Publishing to help you get it out into the world. What was it like for you working with us?
It was great. I would recommend you a million times over. And because, that not only did you make the process easy in terms of like the 8-book writing course and the marketing to bestseller classes, and they're online so you can access them again. But just, you were always there, and you were always helping, and, so kind. And I swear you went above and beyond. Sometimes I was like, should she be doing this for me? But you did. And, I think that matters. And, having the support groups, the little Facebook groups in there and stuff, those all matter. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate all your help. And yeah, it's been great.
My pleasure. Yeah, I like to work closely with our clients through each phase of the process, because I know, especially when it's your first book, there are so many steps and there's just so many moving parts. So I like to make it as easy as possible for the author so that you have a hard enough job writing the book. You shouldn't have to worry about, the setting up the launch and all that. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that it was a smooth process for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you are interested in working with Lisa or grabbing a copy of her book, you can go to passiondepend.com, and you can also grab her book on amazon.com or barnesandnoble.com. And thank you again for chatting with me today. I'm excited for our community to learn about your book.
Thank you, Shanda. I appreciate it.
All right. You have a great afternoon.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.